Welcome to the Sideline, where we discuss the latest hot topics of the FIFA World Cup 2022. I'm your host, Hamza Khayoun. Today, we are delving headfirst into the Ukraine-led campaign to disqualify the Islamic Republic of Iran from the World Cup before it even started. We will also look at the merits of boycotting or disqualifying teams from sporting competitions for strictly political reasons. The show will hear from experts on these hotly debated issues, but before that, we have a very special report on a failed campaign to ban the Islamic Republic of Iran from the World Cup 2022.
Ukraine has solidarity, weapons and cash heaped upon it in Western circles. From Hollywood to the sporting field, famous figures can regularly be found virtue signalling in blue and yellow. In the British Premier League, all 20 teams had their captains appear wearing Ukrainian armbands. Ukraine has even added its name to a bid by Spain and Portugal to host the 2030 World Cup. Is this meant to compensate for their inability to qualify for the competition? Will players be marching into stadiums wearing Ukrainian colours? It seems unlikely, as the Middle East region has a clearer view of events in Ukraine than their European counterparts. The prospective NATO member had led a rancid campaign to disqualify the team of the Islamic Republic from the competition before it had even started. The CEO of the Ukrainian team, Shakhtar Donetsk, has even gone so far as to say the Iranian team should be withdrawn from the competition and replaced with the Ukrainian national team. The bid to deny Iran's right to compete has been led by the Ukrainian Association of Football. However, at the Sideline, we wonder if a body as historically corrupt as it is fit to make such assertions. It was found that for 15 years, funding meant for the UAF, then known as the Football Federation of Ukraine, was channeled directly into the British Virgin Islands tax haven bank account of Newport Management. This offshore company was controlled by FFU chairman Hirori Serkis and received over 380 million euros. Hirori Serkis is of course part of the anti-Russian pro-NATO Ukrainian elite who have invited the US colonization of their country. He's known to be close to figures like Israeli-Ukrainian funder of Nazi groups Igor Kolomoisky and former pro-Western president Viktor Yushchenko. Who are you, corrupt elites, to question the legitimacy of the Islamic Republic? Perhaps Ukraine is hurt by its own failure to qualify when it lost to Wales. This was thanks to a humiliating old goal by Ukrainian striker Andrei Yarmolenko. As part of Group B, Wales are pitted against the Islamic Republic of Iran. Operation Disqualify Iran failed.
We are joined in the studio by our resident football analyst, Haider. Mo was a key figure in the development of Arsenal Fan TV, where he was eventually dismissed for his public support for the Palestinian cause. Now he runs his own YouTube channel, where he provides cutting-edge analysis and incisive commentary on the latest Arsenal games. We are joined on Skype today by Professor David Miller, the producer and resident expert of Palestine Declassified on Press TV. David was formerly a professor of sociology at Bristol University and today is a leading scholarly critic of Israel. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. So David, Russia was successfully banned from this World Cup despite hosting it last time. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So this was back in February when the Russians launched their special military operation, and FIFA declared that Russian national team and indeed other Russian teams would be banned from all competitions, including the World Cup. So this was part of the kind of hysteria that there was at the time, which continues to some extent over the Ukraine question, and it's meant that Russia's been banned from a whole number of different competitions and areas, as well as in football. So it's a more general thing where Russia has been isolated by Western powers.
Mo, can you tell us a little bit about your experience of supporting Palestine on AFTV football?
Well, unfortunately, AFTV was a very organic football fan channel. There were no sort of rules or regulations in terms of what you can't do, can and can't wear. So when I go to football games, I tend to wear a badge on my jacket that says Free Palestine. And for many years that was fine, but then as the channel became bigger and had more scrutiny, people started to take an issue with that badge. And I was told that you're going to have to take the badge off because we want to stay non-political. I respected that. And I crossed out the fact that the badge said free. So it just showed Palestine. And I thought, you know what? It shows that censorship of Palestine in action. So I was quite happy. But then things took turn for a worse, really, when I was filming for the channel during COVID from home, and I was wearing a hoodie that simply just said Palestine. It just had a badge that said Palestine. And I was told to remove that hoodie, that item of clothing. I reacted quite angrily to that, because what right does anyone have to restrict the clothes that I wear? And what I did, I publicly called out the channel when the hostilities between Israel and Palestine took a turn for the worse, and they didn't like being called out. Today we see Qatar being called out with hard-hitting questions from journalists and fans and footballers about every issue under the sun. But when it came to me asking AFTV a question about why they're trying to suppress any sign of Palestine in their channel, the response was to just get me off the channel.
Right, and David, why did they target the Islamic Republic of Iran in this way?
Well, it's about, if you look at the example of Russia and the example of Iran, these are about nations which are either clients of the West or not. And so the Islamic Republic of Iran is being targeted because it's not seen as a client of the West, it's seen as opposing the West. And of course, it's been targeted by Ukraine specifically because of the apparent role of in the Ukrainian conflict of Iranian Shahed drones, which looks like they've been very effective in the conflict. So there's been an attempt to target the Iranian regime and the Iranian football team to get them out of the competition by Ukraine, a country where there are, as everybody now knows, active Nazis involved in the military and indeed having a leading role in the military in Ukraine. But nobody says we should be banning Ukraine or stopping Ukraine from participating in competitions. Instead, it's the countries which threaten Western interests which are targeted.
Mo, do you think the same standards will apply to the United States? We know that the next World Cup will be taking place there. Do you feel that people will be taking a similar stance against them as far as imperialism goes?
Clearly, it's a rhetorical question. United States, they seem to be able to do whatever they please, no matter what their foreign policy or what's going on domestically, and they seem to be able to just skirt above scrutiny. The Iraq War started in 2003, an illegal war based on lies, yet there was no question of their involvement in the 2006 World Cup in Germany or their involvement in the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. So do I think that there'll be an equal sort of questioning of America? No, don't make me laugh.
Thank you. And David, what do you make of the information about the Ukraine Football Federation contained in the report?
Well, it's not surprising, I guess. I mean, I've looked a little bit into the Ukrainian oligarchs and the Ukrainian elites and their role in relation to anti-Russian pogroms and behavior in the Ukraine. This guy, Kolomoisky, who is close to the guy who runs the Football Association, really interesting character. As it said in the film there, he has Israeli citizenship as well as Ukrainian citizenship. He's Jewish. He's been involved in all sorts of corruption there. There are outstanding warrants against him in the US by the Department of Justice. He's not allowed, neither any of his children or his family, to go to the US. And of course, he was involved in funding the Azov battalion and other Nazi militias in the Ukraine. This is the kind of milieu in which Ukrainian football operates. And so I'm not surprised at all to see the way in which the funds to this company have gone offshore, just like Zelensky's funds went offshore, as been shown in the Panama Papers. This is a nest of corruption, of money laundering, and indeed of support for actual Nazis.
Mo, how do you feel like the tournament's gone so far? Do you feel like there's a strong vibe of cultural imperialism going on in Qatar?
Well, in terms of the tournament so far, there's a football element and then there's a cultural imperialism element as well. In terms of the football element, it's been a great tournament so far. The football never disappoints, and there's been some incredible upsets already, with Saudi Arabia beating Argentina and Japan beating Germany. But the biggest upset has probably been the one that's called from this superior mentality of football fans not being allowed to drink and purchase alcohol at stadiums. And I think that's a really clear sign of this cultural imperialism that's at play here. where clearly it's not in Qatar's culture to do something like that, yet the response to that has not been one of understanding and acceptance. It's been a response of entitlement and what seems like an unspoken view that one culture is superior to another. And that for me has been quite obnoxious and off-putting, to be honest with you.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you for joining us on the sideline today. Please stay tuned on all platforms. We will be back throughout the tournament with more debate and analysis. Until then, goodbye for now.